Greetings and welcome to another tutorial video for Sinful Needs. In this video I'm going to touch on a new product, the Hellfire Nodes, that'll be hitting the store tomorrow. They'll be the first of some special effects, particle effects accessories that I'm going to be getting into in the store, trying to move beyond the prim and find even more ways to make your avatar more interesting and more unique. Some of you may have noticed that shortly after the version 2 HUD update, 4 particles classes snuck into the class list there. We're going to start making use of those fairly often from here on out. Some accessories have used one of those classes in the past, like the Aphrodite breast implants use them. You can change the color of the chains on the leashes that are available for the Lockmeister parts of that attachment. But this is going to go well beyond that into some pretty excellent realms of particle customization, I think. I think you'd be hard-pressed to find this amount of flexibility on other attachments in Second Life, short of HUDs that are specifically set up to design particle effects. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, wear your Hellfire Nodes. There will be 2 that are for the hands and 2 that are for the feet. All that really affects is if you want to use the attachment class link on your HUD to limit changes to one or the other. You'll want to make sure that you're wearing the proper ones. Likewise, if you decide to make a copy of one of those and wear it on your head as a crown or something, you should be aware that whether it's the hand one or the foot one, if you have your attachment class link active for the relevant attachment slot, it's going to also affect the one you're wearing on your head, even though you don't have it set for head, because that's an internal setting in the script. Now, once you have them on, you'll want to set your class to one of the particle settings. We're going to go ahead and start with Particle 1S, and we're going to go ahead and change our colors here from this default Hellfire look to, say, a sickly green Hellfire look. Now, I recommend that you use a range of colors across the 4 classes. That will give you a more realistic and interesting look. So we're going to start over towards the yellow end of the spectrum. And we're just going to go to our RGB panel. Like I said, use the picker, pick something towards the yellow end, go ahead and hit apply. And you'll immediately see that towards the bottom end of the flames there, you start to get a little bit of that sickly yellow-green puce color. If we move over into something that's a little more distinctly green, and then apply it to Particles 1E, you'll see that more of the fire changes color, as well as the droplets of hellfire that are falling. They change color, and you see that the sparks are more green down towards the bottom of the effect as well. If we move to Particles 2S and say move over towards the blue end of the spectrum, we'll use our luminosity bar to make it a little bit darker, and then hit apply. You'll notice that in addition to more of the fire becoming green, also the lighting effects that are part of these attachments, which are most noticeable under my feet near the stone here, and reflected in the armor and the horns and spines and that kind of thing, that all turns green as well. Now you can turn those effects off or change them if you want. I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. For right now, let's go ahead and pick one more color. Let's make it even more blue to give us a good range, and then go to Particles 2E and apply that. And now you'll see that the entire look of the Hellfire is really taken on a new cast with a new range of colors. Now, as I said, you can affect the lighting effects that are built into these attachments. If you don't want them for some reason, because maybe they're clashing with another light source in the scene that you want to take a picture of, you can use the brightness controls on your HUD with the particles class selected. The HUD changes purpose on those, and norm turns off the lighting effect, whereas the full bright turns the lighting effect back on. And again, you may be able to see that light going on and off underneath my feet. If you were closer to other things, you would see it reflected there too, although it's not a large, grossly overdone lighting effect. It's primarily designed as a highlight to things near the fires. In addition to those changes, you can also affect what total composite particle effects are used to generate your fire. There are a total of 4 different effects that are built in here. And we're going to come over to the shine controls, which get retasked while you're in the particles mode, and we're going to hit none. And that turns off all of the excessive effects and just leaves the flames on. And this kind of gives the flames more of an energy look, particularly with some color spectrums. Like if I were to go back to, say, particles 2S here and change that to a purple, and apply that, you'd see that we've got some kind of crazy wild magic thing going now instead of just fire. If you use the low shine button, you see that we start to get those sparks back. And if you use the medium, then we get the Hellfire drops back. And then if you use the high, you'll see that we get an eerie smoke effect that comes in. And that definitely looks like it's some kind of toxic mess. And depending on what colors you have assigned to which parts of the particle effect will vary the color of that smoke as well. I believe if we went back and changed 1E to, say something blue, you'd see that that smoke changes to a more blue color. That's still a bit much for me right now, so we're going to go ahead and go back to medium and turn that off. And leave just our fiery effects. And then we're going to move on to the next control. If you move on to the transparency controls, the solid button will increase the intensity of the particle effects that are being used. And basically what that does is it increases the burst count, so it uses slightly more particles to give you a brighter, more distinct look. And then if you use the transparency button, you'll see that it goes back towards the default settings, which are the minimums. Also, we can use the glow controls for changes. For starters, you can use the off button to turn the particle effects off. And the glow button will turn it right back on with the settings that you were using. And you can change the scale of the particle effects, and this doesn't increase the particle count. All it does is just increase the scale and the speed of the particles. If you use the plus button, you'll see that you can pretty quickly make those effects get much larger. Now in some cases you may decide that you want the effects to be much larger on the feet than they are on the hands. So we could do is we could come over here, and with the hands selected under attachment, we could put on our attachment class link and then come back over here and go ahead and tap minus a couple of times. And we can bring the scale back down on the Hellfire on the hands. Now as you can see, you have a broad range of controls here that you can use to create a very unique look, combined with the right skins and the right colors applied to your accessories. You can definitely create some very interesting avatars, and I look forward to seeing the kind of creations that our wonderful sinners come up with. If you have any further questions about this new attachment set, please feel free to IM me directly, Galathir Darkstone, or speak up in the Sinful Needs group or the Sinful Needs update group, and I'll catch you a response back just as soon as I see that message. If I'm not around with you, leave it. If one of our very helpful sinners doesn't beat me to it. Thank you for your time. Stay sinful.